Those who defend Brooks say he's never made a comedy before. They're right. And he still hasn't. I'm Joel Siegel, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Hoping your news is good news, I'm Roger Grimsby.
Next here on Channel 7, ABC's World News Tonight. For Bill Butel, I'm Ernie Anastas. Have a good night. We'll see you again tonight at 11.
Eyewitness News is recognized by United Press International as New York's best regularly scheduled newscast.
Listen to WPAT, FM 93 or AM 93. It gives the people who live in the World Showplace a place to relax.
Here in reply to a Channel 7 editorial is Edward Hanman, Director of Public Relations for District Council 37.
I'm responding to a Channel 7 editorial which endorsed Mayor Koch's idea to have work camps on Rikers Island for prisoners and criticized Victor Gottbaum for calling the idea half-baked. The mayor wants prostitutes and other minor offenders to serve 10 to 15-day sentences in work camps and commute to work in city parks, hospitals, and other areas. Half-baked is a kind description. In a hospital, for instance, who'll supervise these workers? Nurses and doctors who are inundated with work now? Or will an armed guard follow each prisoner into patients' rooms to take bedpans or serve food, perhaps? Our prisons are short-handed now. Where will they get the guards to go with these inmates? If an inmate in a park makes a break, will the guard shoot? If they work slowly or goof off, what will the guard do? Shoot for productivity? And what about city workers who will see prisoners doing the same work they do as punishment? Should do wonders for their morale. Inmate work camps is like the last war on crime in the subways. It helps the mayor's image for being tough on crime, but it won't do a bit of good for anyone else.
That was Edward Hanman, Director of Public Relations for District Council 37, speaking in response to a Channel 7 editorial.
Help raise funds to prevent birth defects. Join the March of Dimes annual Walk America Marathon. That's Sunday, April 25th. Call 922-1460.
1928 was an excellent year for beans.
Nice chickpeas today, Tony.
Imported, Mrs. That's when Progresso introduced the select beans that became a tradition among bean lovers. Today, our imported chickpeas are the finest you can buy. Our red and white kidney beans are grown from special seeds by our own growers. And all Progresso beans are checked for size and quality. So for the best beans, make it Progresso or make it yourself.
Oh, Tony, your kidney beans are the best.
Special seeds, Mrs. Delgado. Special seeds.
Dad, it's Susan.
Honey, it's Susan.
From one end of the country to the other, TWA's new low fares make ends meet.
Grandpa, I can whistle.
Los Angeles and San Francisco, now only $144 one-way night coach, no restrictions. TWA's new low fares. It's a great way to make ends meet.
Where, young man? Let me hear that whistle.
People's Court tonight, 7:30.
I'm Ernie Anastas, and back again with some of the stories we're working on for tonight's Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock. We'll tell you about the suspect in the CBS murders being returned to New York tonight and other new developments in the case. As the Israelis bomb Palestinian targets in Lebanon, we'll go behind the headlines with a special background report on why there's new tension in the Middle East. Also tonight at 11, psychics predict the future and the Rangers' last stand. Tonight at 11. Now stay tuned for ABC's World News Tonight.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings at the Foreign Desk in London.
A ceasefire in the Middle East is broken. The Israeli Air Force attacks in Lebanon.
Max Robinson at the National Desk in Chicago.
55-mile-an-hour winds fanned a huge fire burning through hundreds of homes and apartments in suburban Los Angeles.
And from our desk in Washington, Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. The stillness of the ceasefire in southern Lebanon was shattered today by the sound of guns, bombs, and planes. Peter Jennings is at our foreign desk in London. Peter?
Frank, this afternoon the Israeli Air Force attacked a variety of targets in Lebanon. It wasn't the massive raid which much of the world has been expecting, and which the United States has been trying to prevent. It was, however, an attack with major political implications. In the first of two reports, here is ABC Jacques Grenier in Beirut.
The Israeli jets flew over Lebanon for about 2 hours, concentrating their attacks on 4 Palestinian positions. The Palestinians responded with anti-aircraft guns and heat-seeking surface-to-air missiles. But the planes were too high for the guns and dropped decoy flares to attract the missiles. Lebanese radio said the Israeli bombs and rockets killed at least 25 people. Many more were wounded. Ambulances carried the casualties to Beirut, about 10 miles from the most intensive bombing. The rockets and bombs fell, for the most part, on Palestinian military positions. Reporters were kept away. The raids put to rest the American-negotiated ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians, which has held tenuously for the past 9 months. Palestinian spokesman tonight made that very clear.
Everybody around the world knows that this is a clear provocation and is a violation and a breaching to the ceasefire which was agreed upon.
For several weeks now, Palestinian leaders have been predicting that Israel will invade southern Lebanon. Any retaliation by the Palestinians for today's air raids could provoke that very invasion. Jacques Grenier, ABC News, Beirut.
This is Bill Siemens in Israel. Israel's chief of military intelligence said the attack was limited to 3 PLO bases which were, he claimed, away from civilian areas.
All of them are purely military installations and far from any civilian population or activity.
2 of the bases were at Dukha and 1 at Masboud, south of Beirut. 2 Syrian MiG-23s were shot down, and the Israelis tonight provided this gun camera view of a missile hitting one of those Syrian planes. Sagi said the raid was deliberately restrained and intended to stop PLO actions against Israel, which had broken the ceasefire.
We did not want to start cleaning up the southern part of Lebanon. This is more a warning operation.
He said the death today of an Israeli soldier by a PLO mine in South Lebanon was the last straw after months of restraint.
People live.
In Israeli towns close to the Lebanese border, police warned residents to be ready to go down into their bomb shelters if the PLO fired back. The attack took place just a few hours after Israel announced it would withdraw from the Sinai on schedule. And to the south, another military action was launched as Israeli troops began evacuating the die-hard opponents of the withdrawal who refused to leave the Sinai town of Yamit. From their rooftop barricades, they stoned troops trying to douse them with fire hoses. The army estimates it will take several days to clear the protesters out, including followers of Rabbi Meir Kahana, who arrived from New York today to try to calm his followers who threatened suicide. Bill Siemens, ABC News in Israel.
It is very rare in the Middle East that only one shoe drops. The question now is whether, and if so how, the PLO will react. It is not equipped to mount a traditional military assault against Israel, nor has that ever been its intention. Yasser Arafat may try to hold his political colleagues in line, hoping the PLO will benefit from being seen as restrained. Arafat, however, has hawks within his coalition who will demand some sort of action against the Israelis. The Syrians have no desire to be drawn into war on behalf of their Palestinian clients. Syria may take some comfort in the thought it would bloody Israel, but it would lose the battle. And Egypt remains silent so far, and extremely nervous that Israel's withdrawal from Sinai could yet be affected. Only one thing is certain. No matter what pitch the battle between Israel and Palestinians reaches, it will only be a battle. In the Middle East, there are never any outright winners or losers. Frank?
Peter, here in Washington today, the State Department had a faint tap on the wrist for all concerned in the Middle East. An official statement took note of violence by and against Israel, deplored such actions, and called for restraint and respect for both the spirit and the terms of the ceasefire. There will be more on the immediate situation in the Middle East tonight on Nightline. Max?
A huge fire.